Have you ever found yourself in the midst of the chaos of everyday life, feeling suffocated by so many obligations, so many things around you, so many expectations to be met? You may have wondered, why do I feel so overwhelmed? Why, even with so much within my reach, do I still feel dissatisfied? If these thoughts have ever crossed your mind, know that you are not alone. In the modern world, where we are constantly bombarded by stimuli, it is natural to feel lost, as if we are always running after something, but never achieving true inner peace. Today, we are going to explore two paths that can bring that peace you are looking for: Stoicism and Minimalism. Two philosophies that, despite their differences, converge on a fundamental point: the search for genuine happiness and serenity in the midst of chaos. You'll learn about the key differences and similarities between Stoicism and Minimalism, and, more importantly, find out which of these philosophies might be right for you. But before we dive into these ideas, it's important to understand the principles of each. Stoicism, an age-old philosophy that teaches us to focus on what we can control, to accept what we can't change, and to find virtue in the present, offers a solid and timeless perspective on how to live well. Minimalism, on the other hand, proposes a simpler life, less burdened by material goods and distractions, so that we can focus on what really matters. Both of them we will explore later. Now, you may be wondering, how can these philosophies actually change my life? How can Stoicism and Minimalism help me find that much-desired inner peace? Throughout this video, we will unravel these questions, connecting these ancient teachings with your daily difficulties. Let's explore how these practices can be applied in your daily life to bring more clarity, purpose, and, above all, genuine happiness. Now let's understand better about Stoicism. Stoicism. Stoicism is a practical philosophy, developed over 2,000 years ago, that still resonates deeply with the challenges of the contemporary world. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to live in harmony with human nature, focusing on what is within our reach, our attitudes, our choices, and the way we deal with our emotions. This is the starting point for those looking for a more balanced, resilient, and full life. One of the fundamental pillars of Stoicism is virtue. For the Stoics, virtue is the only true source of happiness. But what does this mean in practice? Virtue, in this context, refers to moral excellence, living according to the highest principles of justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom. It's not a matter of being perfect, but of constantly striving to act in accordance with those values, regardless of external circumstances. It is this pursuit of virtue that allows us to find inner peace, even when the world around us seems to fall apart. Another central concept in Stoicism is the use of reason. The Stoics believe that reason is what differentiates us from animals, and it is through reason that we can achieve true freedom. By using reason, we are able to evaluate situations objectively, without being overwhelmed by uncontrolled impulses or passions. This helps us make more thoughtful decisions and avoid regrets. Instead of reacting impulsively to events, we can reflect, consider our options, and act on our values. Controlling emotions is another crucial aspect of Stoicism. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying our emotions, but rather learning to manage them in a healthy way. Emotions, for the Stoics, are the result of our interpretations of events, not the events themselves. For example, feeling angry or frustrated is not an automatic response to a difficult situation, but rather a choice based on how we interpret that situation. By modifying our perspective, we can reduce the negative impact of emotions and remain calm even in times of stress. The works of Stoic philosophers such as Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus are true treasures for those who want to delve deeper into these concepts. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reflects on how the constant practice of introspection and self-control can guide us to a virtuous life. Seneca, in his Essays and Letters, offers practical advice on how to face adversity and find joy in a simple life. Epictetus, in his Handbook of Life, reminds us that the key to freedom lies in understanding what we can and cannot control. These teachings are extremely useful for stress management and decision-making. By applying Stoic principles in our daily lives, we learn to see problems as opportunities for growth, not to get caught up in what is out of our control, and to make decisions based on our values rather than our momentary emotions. If you want to delve deeper into how to apply Stoicism in the various areas of your life, we have a series of videos that explore these topics in detail. Every situation you face can be illuminated by the Stoic teachings, from the small daily challenges to the big decisions that shape your life. These videos will guide you step by step, so you can incorporate this philosophy into your daily life and live more fully and balanced. Now let's understand minimalism. Minimalism. Just as Stoicism teaches us to find inner peace through the control of emotions and the pursuit of virtue, minimalism invites us to simplify our lives by eliminating excesses and focusing on what really matters. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by stimuli, obligations, and desires, minimalism emerges as a powerful response to the overload that many of us feel on a daily basis. It's not just about having less stuff, it's about living with intention. By reducing consumerism and reevaluating our needs, we come to value what we have more and free ourselves from the incessant search for more. This does not mean deprivation, but rather the achievement of genuine freedom, the freedom to choose wisely what deserves space in our lives. When we let go of the superfluous, we open the way to greater satisfaction, as we start to invest our time, energy, and resources in what really brings us happiness. There are several techniques that can help us walk the path of minimalism in a practical way. The 30-day rule, for example, challenges us to wait 30 days before making a purchase, enough time to assess whether that item is really necessary. The 3-basket technique is an effective tool to organize and simplify our spaces: one basket for items that we are going to keep, another for what will be donated, and a third for what must be discarded. These practices encourage us to reflect on what really adds value to our lives, promoting an organization that goes beyond the physical, also reaching the mental and emotional. The impact of minimalism goes beyond the organization of physical space. It is deeply connected to our mental well-being. When we get rid of excess, whether of objects, commitments, or distractions, we create an environment that favors calm and clarity. This, in turn, reduces anxiety and improves our productivity by allowing us to focus our energy on the things that really matter. Minimalism, then, becomes a way to live more consciously, aligning our desires and actions with our deepest values. Exploring minimalism is an invitation to rediscover what is essential in life. It is an opportunity to transform the way we live, making it more meaningful and aligned with who we really are. By simplifying, we find room to cultivate what Stoicism holds so dear: virtue, reason, and serenity. As we delve deeper into this journey, we find that it is often in the simple that true greatness lies. What are the 3 differences between Stoicism and minimalism? While Stoicism and minimalism are distinct philosophies, they both share a common vision of life that strives for balance, simplicity, and inner peace. However, there are subtle differences between these two approaches that may seem small at first glance, but which carry deep meanings when applied to everyday life. These differences, far from creating divisions, offer complementary perspectives that, together, can enrich our journey towards a more meaningful life. The first difference lies in the fundamental motivation that each philosophy proposes. Stoicism is a philosophy that focuses on virtue and wisdom as paths to happiness. For the Stoics, the key to a fulfilling life lies in living according to reason and aligning our actions with virtue, which is moral excellence. This means that the focus of Stoicism is on the way we deal with the internal world, our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes. On the other hand, minimalism is a practice that begins in the external world. He invites us to simplify our possessions, our commitments, and even our thoughts to eliminate what is unnecessary and focus on the essentials. While Stoicism guides us to govern our mind and emotions, minimalism challenges us to transform the space around us, creating an environment that reflects our inner values. The second difference is in the way each philosophy approaches the concept of control. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot change and to focus on what is within our reach, our reactions and choices. It's an approach that helps us navigate life's uncertainties with serenity, understanding that we have no power over what happens outside of us, but only over how we respond to it. Minimalism, in turn, suggests that we have more control over the external environment than we realize. By consciously choosing what we hold in our lives, whether it's objects, relationships, or commitments, we create a reality that supports us, rather than burdens us. Minimalism empowers us to make decisions that simplify our existence, while Stoicism prepares us to face what we cannot avoid. The third difference lies in the way each philosophy deals with desire. Stoicism sees desire as a potential source of suffering, especially when we desire things that are out of our control. The Stoics teach us to moderate our desires, cultivating self-sufficiency, and finding contentment in what we already have. Minimalism, on the other hand, does not necessarily negate desire, but it guides us to desire less and desire better. Instead of accumulating purposeless things or experiences, minimalism encourages us to seek only that which brings true joy and meaning. It is a way of consciously channeling desire, aligning it with our deepest values. Despite these differences, Stoicism and minimalism converge on one essential point: both invite us to live more consciously, to question what really matters, and to pursue a life of quality rather than quantity. They challenge us to look inward and outward, recognizing that by harmonizing our internal world with the external one, we can achieve a fuller, more balanced, and more satisfying life. The three main similarities between Stoicism and minimalism. When we look at Stoicism and minimalism, at first glance, they may seem like quite different philosophies, one rooted in ancient wisdom and the pursuit of virtue, the other, a modern practice focused on simplicity and reducing excess. However, as we explore these two approaches more deeply, we find that they share fundamental principles that make them not only complementary but powerful allies in the pursuit of a fuller and more meaningful life. There are three main similarities that unite these two philosophies that have the potential to transform the way we live, providing a clear path to inner peace and well-being. The first crucial similarity between Stoicism and minimalism is the focus on what really matters. Both Stoicism and minimalism invite us to question our priorities and distinguish between the essential and the superfluous. For the Stoics, the good life is one lived according to virtue, where the focus is on moral excellence and the pursuit of what is truly valuable: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Similarly, minimalism encourages us to simplify our lives by eliminating what is unnecessary so that we can devote our time, energy, and resources to what truly brings us joy and meaning. In both philosophies, there is an invitation to reduce noise, cut excess, and focus on what contributes to a full and harmonious life. The second similarity is in the search for freedom, but not just any kind of freedom, inner freedom. By governing our mind and aligning our actions with reason and virtue, we become free from the chains of passions and the whims of fate. Minimalism, on the other hand, offers us practical freedom, freeing us from the weight of excess possessions, clutter, and social pressures to consume and hoard. By choosing to live with less, we gain more space, physically, mentally, and emotionally, to be who we really are and to live according to our values. Both philosophies show us that true freedom is not found in acquisition, but in renunciation, not in accumulation, but in simplification. The third similarity between Stoicism and minimalism is the emphasis on controlling desire. Both Stoics and minimalists recognize that unbridled desire is a source of suffering. In Stoicism, we are taught to moderate our desires, understanding that desiring what is out of our control is a recipe for frustration and unhappiness. Stoic practice involves accepting what we have and being grateful for what is enough. Minimalism, in turn, also invites us to rethink our desires, challenging the notion that more is always better. Instead of constantly seeking new possessions or experiences, minimalists seek to be satisfied with the essential, finding contentment and simplicity in presence. Both paths teach us that by controlling our desires, we find a lasting peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. These similarities between Stoicism and minimalism reveal a deep alignment between the two philosophies, suggesting that when combined, they can provide us with a holistic approach to living well. Stoicism gives us the tools to master our internal world, while minimalism helps us create an external environment that supports this internal balance. Together, they show us that true happiness is not in possessing more, but in being more, that true freedom comes not from the absence of external limitations, but from control over our own thoughts and desires, and that the truly meaningful life is one lived with intention, simplicity, and purpose. For those seeking a more balanced life, these philosophies offer a clear map. They challenge us to reevaluate what really matters, to seek freedom not through hoarding but through simplification, and to control our desires to find peace and contentment. And as we embrace these lessons, we begin to see that Stoicism and minimalism, far from being separate paths, are actually two sides of the same coin, a coin that, when used well, buys us the most precious wealth of all, a life well lived. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by information, expectations, and distractions, finding clarity and purpose in everyday life can seem like a monumental challenge. However, when we combine the principles of Stoicism and minimalism, we create a powerful set of tools that not only help us navigate daily challenges but also live more fully and meaningfully. Now we will explore 5 practical ways to apply Stoicism and minimalism to our routine, offering a path to a more balanced and satisfying life. 5 ways to incorporate Stoicism and minimalism into your life. The first way is through stress management. Imagine an ordinary situation. You're at work, overwhelmed by tight deadlines, an avalanche of emails, and endless meetings. Stoicism, with its focus on controlling emotions and accepting what is out of our power, teaches us to approach these moments with serenity. Rather than getting carried away by anxiety, we learn to focus on what we can control: our actions, our attitude, and our response to external pressures. Complementing this, minimalism encourages us to simplify our workload, prioritizing what really matters and eliminating the unnecessary. By reducing overtasks and commitments, we create space to focus on what's essential, decreasing stress and increasing our efficiency. Another practical application of the two philosophies is in conscious consumption. We've all been through that temptation to buy something impulsively, whether it's a new gadget, a piece of clothing, or an expensive meal. Stoicism guides us to reflect on our desires and ask, is this really necessary? Does it contribute to my virtue and well-being? This approach helps us resist societal pressure to consume without thinking. Minimalism, in turn, reinforces this practice by encouraging us to adopt a less is more mentality. By consciously choosing what we buy, we focus on acquiring only what adds real value to our life, avoiding the accumulation of material goods that often only generate more worry and disorder. A third example is the way we face adversity. Suppose you've experienced a disappointment, a relationship has ended, you've missed an important opportunity, or you've received unfair criticism. Stoicism teaches us to see these events not as catastrophes, but as challenges that we can overcome. He reminds us that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. Minimalism complements this perspective by suggesting that when we simplify our lives and let go of what no longer serves us, we become more resilient. By keeping only the essentials, whether it's people, appointments, or objects, we create a solid foundation that sustains us even in the storms of life. The fourth way in which these philosophies intertwine is in the search for meaning. In our daily routine, it's easy to get lost in activities that ultimately don't bring us fulfillment or purpose. Stoicism challenges us to live up to our values, striving for moral excellence and fulfillment through virtue. Minimalism, by encouraging us to eliminate the unnecessary, creates the necessary space for us to dedicate ourselves to what really matters, whether it's a passion, a relationship, or a personal mission. Together, these philosophies help us shape a life that is not only lived, but lived with purpose. Finally, Stoicism and minimalism can transform our interpersonal relationships. Think about how often we feel overwhelmed by social expectations, superficial networks, and the constant need to please others. Stoicism teaches us to strive for authenticity, valuing relationships based on virtue and mutual respect, rather than worrying about external approval. Minimalism suggests to us that by simplifying our interactions, focusing on true and meaningful connections, we can create deeper and more satisfying relationships. By detaching ourselves from the superficial, we make room for more genuine and lasting relationships. In all of these areas, from stress management to mindful consumption, from coping with adversity to the search for meaning and the quality of relationships, we see how Stoicism and minimalism complement each other in powerful ways. Together, these philosophies offer us a clear path to a more balanced life, where the essential comes to the fore and the superfluous disappears. And which philosophy is best for you? It is important to recognize that each person is unique and has their own needs, challenges, and goals. Stoicism, with its focus on the mind and control of emotions, may be better suited for those seeking greater emotional resilience and moral clarity. Minimalism, on the other hand, with its emphasis on external simplification, can appeal to those who want to create a more organized and well-being environment. In the end, what really matters is that both paths lead us to a more intentional life, where distractions are minimized and the focus is on what really matters. Whichever philosophy resonates most with you, Stoicism and minimalism together offer a solid foundation for living with more peace, purpose, and fulfillment. The choice is yours. Which of these paths are you ready to take on your journey of self-discovery and growth? Don't forget that we have several important videos so that you can deal with the problems in your life with more serenity and resilience. To finally find the peace and happiness you seek so much. I'll leave them here on the side. I'll wait for you in the next video.